Hey there, how's it going? Christy and Alonso and Matt. Next up for us is a movie called Under the Silver Lake, which came out like a week ago, I want to say.
Yes.
And I've wanted to catch up with it
and
for a while.
And it's now streaming.
It is streamable.
You can watch it on Amazon. This is a movie that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival last year. People thought it was going to be a big thing, and then it wasn't.
Right. This is from David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows,
Yes.
which was excellent. One of my favorite movies that year. He did a great film. His debut was The Myth of the American Sleepover, which I was totally in love with and was on my top 10 list that year, 2011 or something, I want to say. Anyway, it was a while ago. And he's a really interesting filmmaker with great craft and great artistry and a really specific tone and voice. And here he has made this kind of shaggy film noir set in modern LA. Andrew Garfield stars as like a 30-something kind of hipster living in Silver Lake. And
he's not kind of hipster. He's full-bore slacker hipster.
Right. The first time we see him, he is in line at a coffee house in Silver Lake, and which is a part of LA. If you guys don't know, it's on the east side of LA.
It's the Brooklyn of Los Angeles.
It is. And it wasn't always. My mom grew up in Silver Lake. It was not always like that.
No,
but now
it
it
is.
Now it is. A lot of artists and a lot of really cool mid-century modern houses. And I think it's like Williamsburg in New York. And he lives there. He has no job. He sort of hangs out on his balcony and watches the topless woman across the way as she feeds her birds. And then one day a very mysterious neighbor shows up, played by Riley Keough. She is sexy in an old school kind of femme fatale way, in her bikini and her floppy hat and her little dog.
Yeah, she has a Marilyn thing. Like,
yes.
When he comes over to watch a movie, it's How to Marry a Millionaire. There's a scene with her coming out of a pool that directly quotes the footage of Marilyn that was shot for what was supposed to be her film after The Misfits, Something's Got to Give, but then she died.
Where she puts her foot up on the edge of the pool.
Yeah.
Very famous shot. But she is fascinating, and then one day she's gone.
Yes.
And when she disappears, it sends him down this rabbit hole of clues and codes and looking for signs within signs and conspiracy theories. And he meets like one weirdo after another that leads him down to another place and another place. And it's all like within the LA and Hollywood kind of film world and performance art world.
Music.
And if you are on this film's wavelength, you will dig it. It is 2 hours and 19 minutes long, I want to say. It is. We used the words meandering and shaggy a bit ago to describe extremely wicked, shockingly evil and vile. This is also meandering and shaggy, but with this tremendous style and tone and like beautiful camera work and long tracking shots and a very vivid sense of place, a very specific LA, which is simultaneously totally current and now, but with like a retro kind of 60s vibe to it, which I like very much. This reminded me a lot of Inherent Vice.
Oh, yeah.
Which I did not love. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I did not love that particular film. But Andrew Garfield is kind of like the Joaquin Phoenix character in that movie, in that he's just sort of wandering around LA trying to put the pieces together, kind of. And not really, and you don't know, is he onto something? Is he crazy? Does it all add up to anything? Does that matter if it does or not? And I dug it.
I go wildly back and forth on this movie because, yes, stylishly, there's a lot going on in terms of the look and the mood of the film. It almost becomes one of those things where, like, the thing I always used to say about Natural Born Killers that drove me crazy was that anything that you could say against it, someone could claim, well, it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to do that. You're supposed to feel like that.
And you're there to like it or not.
Exactly. And this movie's kind of the same way in terms of it is crazily indulgent and up its own ass, but then so are the characters. So
now, I haven't seen this, but I've been reading a lot about how some people's interpretation of this movie is that it's a treatise about like the hardcore film nerd that goes way down the rabbit hole of what films mean.
And somebody was saying that it was his movie against people who delved too deeply into It Follows and what it all really means. And just let it just let A equal A, you know. There's that in there. Our friend Daniel Waters, who you recently interviewed for A La Carte, compared it to Repo Man.
Oh yeah, that's good too. In that it's like a recognizable LA, but there's
but
also a
bizarro LA,
a heightened version of it. Totally, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, so it's like I'm torn back and forth. I felt the 2 hours and 20 minutes while I was sitting through it, but at the same time, like, I'm glad I saw it, and I think there's a lot of ideas in there, maybe too many ideas in there, and it vacillates back and forth. You're thinking, is he parodying this, or is he just indulging in this? If you're a fan of Southland Tales, this is a movie for you. So I. Like, check back with me in a year, kind of is my thing about it. But at the moment, I'm maybe more annoyed than entranced. But there's something going on here for sure.
I do suspect that this is the kind of movie that in time will gain cult status, and people will say like, "Oh, I loved it. I always loved it."
I saw it during its week-long run.
Yes. So whether he's crazy or not, whether it's a parody or not, I always cared. I was never bored. I was always into whatever next step he's going to take. And that says a lot. I wasn't dismissive of the insanity of the conspiracy theories. I was like, oh, what does that pattern in that song mean?
Well,
what do those letters mean?
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing is the conspiracy theories start paying off and taking him places. And so I think for people who believe in conspiracy theories, it'll be exciting to see a movie that's like, ha, yes, see?
I was right.
I was right. But it also kind of raises the question of, like, if you are a person who believes in conspiracy theories and you think that you can actually solve them and parse them, what do you think you're going to win at the end? You know, like, what are you going to get out of it? So, I mean, there's a lot happening here. This is not a movie to be dismissed. I'll say that much.
There's this exquisite scene. Oh, and adding to the heightened LA version of it, Patrick Fischler, who is a key part of Mulholland Drive, is in this.
Yes.
And I'm looking up his name while we're looking at IMDb. Who is the guy who is, the songwriter? Jeremy Bobb. There's this exquisite scene in a mansion in Los Feliz, I want to say is where it is, where a lot gets explained, but also gets more complicated.
Yes.
And this songwriter is, it's a long conversation between Andrew Garfield's character and the songwriter. And it is funny. Yeah. And it's kind of scary and incredibly tense.
Yes, and it says a lot about, like, mass media and what kind of self-definition people gain from the culture and what the culture's part in all of that is. I had a thought in my head and it just blew out. So
I also like, because I always like Topher Grace and everything he does. He makes interesting choices. I like him as, his character is literally named Bar Buddy. They didn't even give his character a name, but he turns up in his little hipster pork pie hat to help Andrew Garfield sort through things. And it's really fun, but it's simultaneously totally lightweight and meaningless, and yet it's got great craft and heft and substance to it. So I am also, like you, a little torn on it, but I dug it.
Yeah, and it is a very LA movie.
Totally.
Like, in terms of locations and specificity about how you get from point A to point B, and, you know, just like places like the Shriner meeting hall on the Hollywood Forever Cemetery property. You know, just just little places like that you don't necessarily always see in movies, but
there's a scene. Is it at Cinespia? They show movies at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery here in LA, and there's a scene at one of those kinds of nights.
But it's not. They don't go to a movie though. It's like, is it a concert?
There's something. Oh,
there is a movie.
There is a movie being played, and then there's like a cute reveal of, like, you know, one of the cemetery plots.
Right. Yes. Which is really there.
Yes, and I like the use of music. It's a very eclectic mix.
We'll go ahead and mention the cemetery plot because I think it has a lot to do with this movie. You see Alfred Hitchcock's gravestone, and when I was watching this with Dave, he said, "Oh, this is like a movie where this guy thinks he's a Hitchcock protagonist. Like, he thinks he's Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window, but the movie is actually about how, like, the male Hitchcock protagonists are almost always assholes." And I don't want
say that his character is an asshole, but there's, he's just vapid, meandering.
And I mean, like literally, he has 5 days before he's going to get evicted, and makes no effort to like.
That's part of the joke.
Get the money, get a job, do anything. He's constantly lying to his mother on the phone about being at work when he never is. But then there becomes this whole sort of subplot about how when people in LA talk to each other, all they ever ask them about is how work is going. Again, this is a movie that's going to be rattling back and forth in my brain for a while. But at the moment, I'm maybe a little more annoyed than enraptured.
But if you love movies, though, there's a ton of little Easter eggs and film homages and like posters in the background. And yeah, you're right. If we see him sitting on the balcony of his apartment with binoculars spying on a neighbor, he's very much Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window. I dug it. And also our friends the Silver Sun Pickups did the music for it. Yay. There's the scene where they're at the concert on the standard roof. They are the band playing behind the band, and then they also actually did the song that has all the clues for him.
That's them.
That's also them.
Good for
there
them.
You go. Yeah. So our friends, hello. So I had a really good time. I'm saying 7.3, and I saw it on TV. I streamed it, but I wish I had actually seen it in a theater.
Yeah, same here. I think that might have made the running time go down easier too. I said 6.3, but again, ask me in a year.
6.8 is the number from us here. It's at 55% on the tomato meter. But yes, time will change people's feelings about this.
Yeah, I mean, I know people who vociferously hate this movie, but I think there's too much going on to not give it a little credence. And yeah, if you're the kind of person that likes sort of puzzle box movies or, films that aren't declaring, this is the anti-Ugly Dolls. It is not constantly declaring what it's about. So it's worth a look for sure. Hey, like this video, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, and while you're at it, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. That's where you'll find our TV recaps of shows like Game of Thrones and Fosse Verdon, as well as news and trailer reviews and all kinds of other discussions that is exclusive to our subscribers. And hey, tell your friends if they're wondering, what happened to What the Flick? We happen to What the Flick.
We're here.
Here's where we are.
We're having breakfast.
They should come find us. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Bye.